All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, I am not surprised that the Chicago Bears traded the first overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. It was just a matter of who they were going to deal it to. Well, we know now who is on the other side of that equation as the Bears are shipping that first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. In exchange for the first overall pick, the Panthers are sending the Bears their first round pick, which is ninth overall, a second round pick, which is 61st overall, along with the first round selection in 2024 and a second rounder in 2025. Now, the Bears are obviously committed to quarterback Justin Fields. The Bears needed to do this as there are some quarterback needy teams out there, and Chicago needed to get more draft capital in order to fill many voids on this team. You go back and look, the Bears gave up a lot a couple of years ago to move up in the first round to take Justin Fields. They made that swap with the New York Giants. And then, of course, they gave the Giants additional picks, which included their first round pick last year, which was a top 10 selection. So the Bears definitely need to restock the cupboard, if you will. Chicago, aside from the picks, also gets wide receiver DJ Moore. And I don't think that this is being talked about enough because DJ Moore is a quality NFL receiver. You think about his 5 years in Carolina, he had more than 5,000 yards receiving, 21 touchdowns. And this guy can go out there and make plays. And that's something that the Bears have lacked around Justin Fields in the early stages of his NFL career, which is playmakers. They went out and made the trade last year to get wide receiver Chase Claypool from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they need some more depth at the wide receiver position. Now, the Panthers, are definitely going quarterback here with the first overall selection. It's just a matter of whether it's going to be CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, or Will Levis. It's a scenario for the Bears that some people are going to ask, and I'm going to pose the question here. Did the Bears get enough in this trade, or should general manager Ryan Poles have tried to hold out for more? It's one of those where the trade right here looks pretty good because the Bears do get 4 picks back from Carolina. The only problem is the second round pick is towards the end of the second round. That's probably the biggest thing right there. The Bears won't have their own second round pick, excuse me, which is the first selection of the second round, as that goes to Pittsburgh for the Chase Claypool trade. But nonetheless, this basically works almost as getting two third round picks because the Bears have the first overall pick in the third round, and they're going to be picking 61st in the second round now. So they're basically picking 61st and 64th to try to get some more depth on that team. They do get a first round pick next year from Carolina, and they also get a pick in 2025. So it's one of those where, at the end of the day, draft picks are currency, and it all comes down to how you use said draft picks. Now, maybe if Ryan Poles could have held out a little bit longer, maybe several more weeks to get another team or teams into the fray for the pick to try to get even more capital, excuse me. But nonetheless, this was a solid haul, especially once you factor in you also got DJ Moore if you're Chicago. And I think this is a win-win for both teams at the end of the day because Carolina, they're starting with a new head coach in Frank Wright. And obviously, he now gets the green light to get his franchise quarterback. And for Carolina and Frank Reich, and you think back to his time with the Colts, that was one thing that he was never able to do. It was always trying to bring in a veteran quarterback to kind of like stop the bleeding, if you will, and it never worked out. Now you get an opportunity to hit the ground running if you are Frank Reich with a quarterback. And of course, with the first pick overall, you're going to have the pick of the litter. So it's one of those for the Bears. You can now go to work as far as putting a quality team or putting a better team around Justin Fields. They need help on the offensive line. You need help at the wide receiver. Just because you brought in a DJ Moore does not mean that the Bears can't go out and get another wide receiver later. You also have to get help on the defensive side of the football as well. So now this gives you an opportunity to get more depth. Now, the other question here, and this is a big one, you got Carolina now, first overall, they're going to be taking a quarterback. You know, Houston, second overall, they're going to be taking a quarterback. You have Indianapolis at number four, more than likely, they're going to be taking a quarterback. But the team that has an opportunity to really come out of this thing smelling like a rose are the Arizona Cardinals. Why? Because Arizona is picking third. Arizona obviously does not need a quarterback because they have Kyler Murray. He's their long-term guy because they just gave him the extension a year ago. So with that said, if you're Arizona, you now have the opportunity to see if there is another team that's desperate and willing to move up in order to take a quarterback. And if I'm Indianapolis, I'm a little shaky right now because somebody does have the opportunity to move ahead of you. If you're Indy, you might have to think about, okay, maybe we swap with Arizona. It's going to cost you some other picks as well because now somebody else could have that opportunity to go and jump ahead of you if they want to go out there and find their quarterback. We have to wait and see. So if you're Arizona, you hold, a lot of the keys to the kingdom right now, if you will, as far as seeing what teams are going to be willing to move up to get that quarterback. Would it be a team like the Raiders? We don't know. We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, things are definitely still going to be very intriguing leading up to the draft. So if you're Carolina, you got to go out there and find your franchise guy. If you're the Bears, it's all about stockpiling those picks. So before you know it, the draft will be here. We're about 6 weeks out, give or take, nonetheless. And this is a big move, and I think there are even bigger moves to come. And I think there's still going to be more wheeling and dealing ahead of the draft and during the draft. We just have to wait and see when we get there. But the closer we get, the more that I'm going to be talking about this. But this was an eye opener. I really thought that the Bears would have waited a little bit longer to deal this pick. But nonetheless, they got the deal that they felt that they needed and wanted. And now let's see what they build upon it. And now Carolina, of course, will be in the market for a quarterback, and they will indeed have their pick of the litter. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you are on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off. I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.